together and did stuff together, went fishing together all the time. So, you know, we just were little kids playing in the sand, and we didn't really know much about it. So I went to this title company. Remember last time Wynn said you'll be surprised at how helpful they are, the title company? So I went to this one in Burlington, and they showed me this gigantic book that had, you know, all handwritten records.
Perfect.
Starting in 1921 when these were being sold. So I wrote down a lot of information. It was fun to see who first bought each one of the 14 beach lots, and then part of the Alverson Camping Tracts were another set of lots across the road. So you'll see on a map that Carol has. And then after I sat at Carol's office for about 4 hours the other day while she did all the work. And then after we got done, Sally goes, "Oh, I have more pictures." So Sal brought more pictures.
Well, I opened my cabinet that had boxes like this. So I pulled out one box and put it on the table and picked up this top thing like this.
So this is going to be on the screen, but I thought that might be fun for people to look at if you want to look closer.
Okay, let's start with this one.
That title company also has a bowl of big chocolate.
Oh. Can you see all right? You can go over there if you want. Or over here.
1921.
Okay, another thing I thought I might tell you
1921.
is in 2000, Sally and our mom said we ought to get people writing histories of, you know, the cabins. And so Sally sent out this really neat letter to everybody and said, "Why don't you do this?" Well, 2 people did it. Mom and the Gilkeys and McCormick. Yeah. So they did a really neat little report.
A history.
Some of it's up there. And so then a year later, Sally sent those copies to everybody and the neighbors again and reminded them.
Hint, hint,
So many for the Everetts.
I never got one.
So I thought this was really neat. Sal said, she said last September, she said, then, "How is your research coming? I've included a copy of the McCormick notes to whet your historical appetites. To spark their memories, they sat down one evening with a pile of 3x5 cards. Their brainstorming was recorded on individual cards, then organized into the following report."
Oh,
That's
that's a
smart.
great idea.
Yeah.
And they have so much fun doing it. You know, do all of you know Marjan and Jerry McCormick? They have 3 sons who grew up with the McCracken boys all summer long. She talks about having 6 little boys running in and out of the house all summer long. So that was really fun. Okay, so then,
Let me know when you want
And
to change.
theirs is the last house on North Beach that hasn't been changed. It's
Yeah.
that little white
Oh,
one with
boy.
turquoise and black
Oh,
trim.
boy.
All the rest of
McCormick
the
was built and has
original.
never been changed or added on to anything. And it's still the original owner.
May I ask, what area are you?
Yeah,
Cover.
we like
Okay,
it.
so this is Wimps Island, and this is North Beach, and you can see the tide flats here. And we put this up here because we think that the Alverson camping tracts were sold as a place where you could really enjoy the beach and dig clams and, you know, get crabs and stuff because of the tide flats, and it shows,
Can you show,
and this is Jack Island.
does the road that goes, that
Old
attaches
road?
to the DNR behind Shaw's, does that show on that map or is that old?
This
That's
is a-
kind of where they started.
This was an aerial, this was a satellite view, I think, in 1988. I don't know.
Well, the old road that went up North Beach.
So my curiosity
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was a, you know, that back in the day in the Anacortes American, it goes back into the little articles 100 years before, and anyway, there was a little blurb a few years ago, and
Here
it
we go.
listed some of the people that bought lots.
Wait, I think I can show you.
And one of them was our granddad's brother, and we didn't know that they ever had a lot there, so that really got me curious.
What year is this?
88, I think.
This is
Yeah.
the West Shore Drive, so it's probably, we're probably talking about
Mm-hmm,
this chunk right here.
mm-hmm.
'Cause
And
that's where it
then
comes.
later, there was a second
The
Alverson
first
tract.
First
Oh.
edition.
Yeah,
of-
first edition and then
Yeah.
a second edition, so
I think.
Do we know who Alverson is?
Oh, this is the little article. See, it says, this is in 1921. I think W.B. Alverson, a bachelor, it says on the thing, bought this acreage and then he had it divided into 50-foot lots. And I think they were 50 by 100, but they're not 100 anymore because of erosion. But, so anyway, I was reading these names and some of them I'd never even heard of. Ralph Stapp, see, Charles Stapp was our granddad, and Ralph Stapp was his brother, and we didn't ever know that Ralph Stapp had a place there. And didn't know where it was, so.
Well, John Douglas.
John Douglas,
That's
Oh, that
your
was another thing.
granddad.
it said that the lots were $35 each. And so John Douglas bought a lot, and he told my dad that his wife,
Granddad.
or granddad, that his wife didn't want to come here, and Charlie, would you like to buy our lot? So he sold it to him for $40, and he made $5.
Are you ready to change? Okay.
So part of the McCormick's report had this flyer, and, oh, it doesn't show the part down here. Anyway, down here it says from Alverson's farm. Let me see.
From his advertising, you mean?
Yeah, it was a
Probably
flyer, and
consists-
they kept it all these years, because it was from 1921. But see, right down here it says, North Beach Farm, home of W.B. Alverson, and I don't know where his farm was. Do you know?
Was it Cartwright? Or was it where Ash Factor was
And see,
at?
that's my next question, is who did Alverson buy all this land from?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted it.
That,
We had a barbed wire fence and the posts down on the beach
Mm-hmm.
I
So-
talked to,
for the old road.
Well, when we get to the map, then
Yeah.
I'll show you that. But see, this is the part about summer home tracts. So this is Alverson writing this. I have about 10 acres of this beach platted to summer home tracts, and 10 summer homes are already built, and 4 or 5 more will be built this spring. As the summer home colony builds up, it's going to add greatly to the value of the land. The camp affords a revenue to the, and Carol and I thought this was really interesting. It affords a revenue to the farmers on the island who sell eggs and milk and butter and isn't that neat? And so part of Gilkey's report were these old articles. This one was from 1923. Can you read that? Shall I read it? Okay.
We had to clean it up as much as we could.
Oh, they're really dark, yeah.
Yeah.
Go down a little bit, let me see what the top says. Okay, at North Beach. This was in the newspaper. A half dozen in 1923. Half dozen families are already in summer camp on going to North Beach. Others will be there this week and more will follow, ready to live on the beach. So, Gwyneth's North Beach Summer Colony is again organized in a half
Yeah.
dozen families are already in their tents and cottages, and others are preparing for the summer season. Within a day or two, we'll have their families over on the North Beach. Those already in camp are Walter Gilkey and family, Charles P. Stappen family, Tony Nazier family, Fred Snyder, and some of these people, you know, we didn't recognize.
And Russ Brown.
Thomas Tate, Fred Snyder.
Oh, Fred
Yeah,
Cartwright.
Thomas Tate will go very soon. Dr. Sean Brooks.
So this may depend somewhat on telephone facilities for the doctors.
So what was the date, say that?
1923. Among those who will soon make their home here will be County Commissioner George B. Ray, and I never did see his name on any of the lists, so maybe he never followed through. Sunday last, Walter Gilkey and Mrs. Gilkey gave a dinner party on the beach to which 19 guests sat down. And Walter Gilkey was the dad of Wade and Lillian Gilkey. You know Beth Armstrong? That's Lillian's daughter. She lives on the island. And Wade and Lillian, or
Me.
Wade,
Wade
had
and
3
me.
children. Mhm.
Yeah, and they had a store right below where
Right.
Eddie lives.
Oh, yeah. The original
store.
famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their grandmother Nell lived next door to our grandmother in Barney's house. And so we got to know Pam, and we played in the summer with Pam, with all the Gilkey grandchildren, Pam and Tricia and Beth. Yeah, so that was kind of fun. Okay, so this is the map that I put on the paper, and this is the first, this is the first division. And you can see here that this is Buenos Island Road. And across the road, there are 50-foot by 100 lots also. And I'm pretty sure that when this, what?
I think this is the second edition, I have the first edition. This is,
No,
right,
this is the first.
that's the
I mean,
first.
this is just the
Okay,
Alverson's Camp Tracts.
yeah,
The
okay.
other one is the first edition. So,
Oh,
we're pretty sure that at that time, you know, we are going across the island, and then you come down to the turn at where Ashbacks live, and then you go along the beach. That road in the beginning was in front of the properties. And where it comes up is right at Everett, and that road is still there. And the road is not anyplace else because it's all been eroded. You know, there's not room for a road. So in one of these readings, it said, people were commenting on how the road behind the colonies was coming along. You know, so it took them a while.
Well, and
to-
that was just a deep, dark forest from the.
That's what our
Yeah,
dad
my
said. He said,
grandparents.
we played on the beach and everything behind the houses was like a jungle.
Oh, even when
And they
we were
slept
growing
on the
up,
beach. They
it was
camped
all
on the
like-
beach.
Yeah.
They
It was
would
a
come
jungle.
over
The
on the
only trail
4th of
was up to
July
the
and
house,
leave.
or in the back
Labor
was to
Day
go up
and-
to the pump.
Right, that's right, yeah.
So where was the
So
road?
go up to
then?
this,
Right in front, it comes
It
up,
went along
there's
the
a
water
ramp
side.
in front of
Flats,
Everett's.
yeah, the water
Oh.
side.
Roads on the water side.
yeah,
Yeah,
it came,
yeah.
it came down the
The
hill and
remnant
turned
is
where
still at Everett.
Ashbacks live, and then it went along the front of these properties.
Wow.
And it
Came up
came
at
up,
14.
see, this is Everett, 13 and
Ours too,
14, it
going
came up
through
right there.
McCracken.
13 and 14, yeah.
Or Nazers.
And then that section line is the east-west, that's the east-west direction, and that's my road, Lewis Lane. And Lee Lewis worked for the county, and he made that road to your house a long time ago, and I think that was the plan, to go over to West Beach
Oh.
that way, but.
Yeah, and
Well,
he
you
had this
can,
big
you know.
road grader,
Yeah.
whenever the road would get bumpy, he'd come out and scrape it smooth. So go down this way, Carol, or put this up, because when Carol and I were looking at this, we looked at the,
Oh, yeah.
says engineer, the treasurer certificate engineer, this is his, you know, the legal document that is a little tiny thing, we blew it up. Anyway, right here it says, engineer certificate, examine and approve this 10th day of September 1921. Frank Gilkey. He was the county engineer. So there's another Gilkey. And Frank Gilkey was the father of Helen Gilkey, who was married to Kate Campenborg's father before she married Frank Tucker. And so Kate Campenborg now lives in the
Is it gonna be a
Tucker house,
quiz?
which is about right here,
Yeah.
about right here. So Sally and I went down and talked to Kate not too long ago. That was really fun. So just think, and she said, oh yeah, my granddad was a civil engineer, and here he turns up on the,
Oh.
There it is.
and so this was my, the results of my research. I copied down all this, you know, stuff longhand, and then when I made my little chart, I thought, well, I wanna see who bought the first property. So, in November 1921, Arlie Bradley got lot number 9, which is, one of the Ryberg lots. And then Thomas Tate got number 10, Harry Barney, number 11, and Mr. Everett, Susie's granddad, lot number 14. The last,
He
the
didn't buy
last lot.
13 and 14?
Well, first he bought 14. And so then, see, this book is huge. And so you go down the page and you see the lot number, and then you have to go over here to see who bought it. So it's just page after page after page. So,
And you can't copy, you know, it would have been so nice
Oh,
if we
yeah,
would
that
have
was
just
so-
taken
There
a
were
copy,
4
but
pages, this is the
Look,
second.
there's no way to
Yes,
get into the
that.
copy
yeah, so,
machine. Here's
so for
11.
instance,
But they had chocolate.
so, let's see, so let's do Everett. So for instance, Susie's granddad bought lot number 14 in November of 1921. So then when he got lot 13 had been bought by E.A. Abbott, and then L.A. Stewart, C.E.A. Abbott, and then L.A. Stewart. They bought the land on the same day, so I don't know what that means. I don't know why the same day, these two, maybe they bought it
It's a bargain.
together.
They bought it
They probably
together.
got, yeah, shared it, so you go one weekend.
What's the word up at the
Yeah.
top? Sue, what's the word at the top of the yellow column?
Purchaser.
Purchaser.
And so
it had
then you go
11
down
for
and you
3.
find 13, and so Susie's granddad bought lot number 13 from one of those two guys in November of 1928. So 7 years later, her granddad got the lot next door.
Did you make this list, or is this a document from the county?
No, she didn't.
No, I made this. I typed up.
But the
I typed
document
up-
in the county looks like that,
I've seen
except
them,
it's just in this teeny little
This is what it
handwriting.
looks
That's so gorgeous.
I know.
Oh,
This is what it looked like
Oh,
when I was
my.
standing. You stand there at this big table. And so then when
But
I
they have a bowl
got
of
home, I
chocolate.
piled it into this just so I
That's
could.
you?
Yes.
Because I wanted to see, you know, the guy that bought lot number 12, what my grandparents owned, in September 1923, it was John Douglas, and then the Stapps bought it that same month, apparently, and so I think he just made
That's
$5.
because the ferry was sucked.
No, his wife
Nothing's
didn't like
changed.
walking 3 miles, because they had to walk, I think.
Yes.
There were no road. My
Right.
aunt talks about walking to school on a gravel road.
Yeah, well, they
Mhm.
also built the farm between that time. Grandparents built the farm.
Did
On
ever
South
find-
Beach. Yeah. Well, that makes sense, it's closer to the.
Yeah.
But the guy who sold it to my granddad is the guy whose wife
We
didn't
kind
like
of,
hiking over.
Okay, now, Carol's husband, Tom, has gone to the county and he's had him copy all these cool maps for him. And here's just
Wow,
another
look
view
at the
from
end.
1957 of the same place with the tide flash showing.
look at all the
Grandpa Everett
trees.
had it.
Yeah, it's so
Oh.
pretty.
He
And
could've
this
bought
is
the whole
Clark's
point of the
Point.
island for $1,000.
And you know, Clark's Point has been pretty well developed now. That's where that big mansion is.
Yeah.
And we think that this is the road down to the resort, so the resort might be about there.
What year was the resort built, you know?
46 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't, all I did was the Alverson camping trips.
Well, you
And
have
so,
time to do that.
in McCormick's story,
That's cool.
she talks about how every year we'd build rafts.
Yeah.
Not we, but they would build rafts. And they would beachcomb logs, and they would put rafts together, and kids would swim out to them all. And then she said they'd be washed away in the winter storms, the next summer they'd build another raft, so I thought that was
Nothing's
kinda
changed.
cool. And look at Vindovi though, go back one.
So
Vindovi,
it is.
this land that's just been bought by the land trust, and now it's- anybody can go there. It burned, I don't know what year it burned, but there are no trees.
After 46, because my mom remembers looking out at that huge
Mm.
fire.
Wow.
And they
The
were
Chuckanut Drive burned in the 60s.
Oh, is that-
And then since,
60s?
I've got tubs and tubs of pictures, a lot of these pictures are ours. So then the next one, we thought that all the fun things you can do on the tide flats, you know,
Wow.
build sandcastles. And this is my granddad, he used to cook salmon in the sand. He would build a fire down in a hole, and he would, my grandmother would sew the fish into a pillowcase, so sand wouldn't get in it, and he would bury it with seaweed and stuff. And this is Susie's mom and our dad, looking at the kind of fish he used to be able to catch. And this is,
Your dad and my dad.
Shorty
yeah,
Hunt, a boy
And then,
in the boat.
Oh.
If you've read that story,
Yeah.
Shorty Hunt
I
was
remember those sandcastles.
one of the boys in the boat.
What was his
Still
last
is.
name?
Hunt,
Billy got a bunch of
Sure.
kids.
George Hunt, but everybody called him Shorty, but he wasn't Shorty.
And then, go one back one, go back one. And then, also, one year, the teenagers made these round skimboards. And so that's one of my kids.
Bob Leatherwood made him
You
for
do
us.
it in
and
the
it was
shallow
out.
water at the edge of the tide flats.
It was big. I still have a
Everybody
scar on
had
my
one.
shin.
So our dads had these, we call them speedboats, moored out there, and they went fishing just like every day did.
I think they did a little beer.
Whenever the time.
Or
Go fishing.
they always said they were going to the Susha Reef.
And this is a picture that McCormick sent along from 1970. She just, you know, in the boat, took a picture of all the houses, and so most of these houses are gone. This is Deutsch's, he's built a new one. This is the red house. This is Beesner's, that has a new house. McCormick's is the only one that's still original. Well, actually, Dillon too.
Yeah, of course, we're
Yeah.
breakfast.
No, they
And then
added to the back of that
You
house.
can't
They
really
didn't
see
change the
very much.
Well, that was way later.
Yeah.
Coming around the corner, that was painted green.
So then Sally and I, one Sunday, we decided to walk all the way down the beach and take pictures of all the houses, and then walk up the road and take the other view. Well, something was wrong with my camera, and we didn't get all the pictures. So starting, when you see on the map, there's Lot A down at the bottom, and then Lot 1. And we were really confused about Lot A. Anyway, Lot A kind of changed hands a lot of times, and this is the
Kate
Tucker house.
Kampfenborg.
That's where Kate Kampfenborg lives. It wasn't part of the first one. This is Lewis's granddad's, the Shaw place, we call it. It was a big white New England type house, and it had a garage, and it's been
Oh, it was
It didn't
moved.
have-
It was originally just right on the road,
What?
and Earl Cahill moved
Moved it
it back.
back, yeah.
and he kind of put it up a story
He
too,
built-
didn't he? Yeah.
And put wings on it.
And really refurbished
So the
it.
original part is the center second floor, actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty, if you see a picture of the old house, you can see that still in the,
We'll need it.
We don't have a picture of the old house, but there's also a big water tower there that my other camera didn't. Anyway, and then the Leatherwoods have the cutest little house that's still there, but it's on the other side of the road, that little greenhouse. And Bob Leatherwood's brother Dave Shannon moved it across the road, and he built this house, so that's
And
the
that
Shannon
house also was, that was a one-story house when he built it.
Oh, it
and-
was? Oh.
I mean, maybe 10 years ago, and he put a story underneath it. Seems
So
like the thing
those
to do.
lots are,
Yeah, what
are
A and what?
68, 69, 70, 71, and 71. And it says, well, yeah.
A was-
Okay, next one.
Next
And so, this one was built by W.V. Wells. He was an attorney in town, and he has two daughters that are probably older than we are, what do you think? Did you know Diane Wells? Yeah.
well, W.V. would be, actually Bill Wells' dad.
Okay, and he was a legislator, wasn't he? In the state
An attorney,
legislature.
so he was,
He was Dad's age, Bill Wells, maybe a little bit.
Or granddad's age.
W.V. would be more like your grandfather's
Yeah.
age. He was a little older.
Bill Wells was,
So he bought that lot, and now it's still owned by the Wells, but it's a rental. Who lives there now? Who lives there?
David
David
and Wendy.
It's owned by the Derricks, isn't it?
And that's the Wells.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
okay. Which house was?
And then,
Marilyn.
Is it a woman,
Well,
Marilyn
Marilyn
Derrick
Derrick.
is Bill Wells' daughter.
Bill Wells'
Yeah.
daughter, okay.
Yeah.
and then you can see on the map where, where the road went there. And so across the road, it often happened that the people that bought a beach lot also bought the opposite one across the road. So the Gilkeys have 2 or 3 lots, and this is where Corinne Gilkey lives. This is across the road
she has
from,
4 or 5.
from Lot 1.
Yeah.
Lot 1, okay. And when Gilkeys did their report, this was a picture of their house, and it talks about how it was going to be built for 2 families, the Walter Gilkeys and the William Gilkeys. And it had double doors on each side of the chimney and big porch that went around. And eventually, what we think is that Bill Gilkey bought it from his brother Walter Gilkey, and now that's in possession of Corinne, Mark, and Charles, who are siblings.
Is that on the water side?
Yeah.
It was on the one side. But now this house was torn down, and what year did we say it was torn down? Yeah, 1990. And they built 2 houses. This is Charles and that's Mark on that lot. And from the road, this is Mark's house and that's Charles.
Water now.
So Mark's house is on that section A, and then Charles's house is lot number 1. So see, all this time we're only to lot number 1. We have to go all the way up to 4. Okay, keep going. And then McCormick's house, we talked about that. It's unchanged from when they first built it. Although they have built this cute little sleeping house.
With still the turquoise, that's really cute.
Yeah, white room.
Well,
white house and turquoise green.
Sue took those pictures that day that, I mean, it was just a week ago, it looks like summer, but it was.
And then this is such a cute picture. This is Jerry McCormick, whose dad built that house, and Charles and Mark Gilkey, who built the 2 new houses. And their horses pulling down a boat. Isn't that cute?
That is cute.
So neat. And it looks like the tide's out there too.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was 1939. Those boys were all born, like in, didn't we say 1928?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad was 26, born 26, I think he's a little older, so
Yeah.
between, I think one was 24, one was 26.
Mhm.
One was 28 or something.
So they're
And then
getting up
20s.
there in their 80s, yeah. So this was the Brown house, and Rita Brown was a great friend of our grandmother. And here's a picture of Rita Brown and her new husband Jimmy Dewar, and her son Chucky Brown, we call him Chucky, and our Aunt Sylvia. And I didn't have a picture of is there a picture on here of the old brown house? Oh,
No,
somebody has a
this-
picture of
I
it
have a
being
picture
torn
of it.
down.
Oh, yeah, because I took my mom to church one morning, and it was about the time when I was doing that project, I was gonna get pictures of all the original houses. On the way to church, that big machine was parked. Okay, Mom, get out of the car. So, but this is what it used to look like.
It was a sweet little house, and so the Boogies tore it down. They kept the original garage, and it's so cool inside if you ever get to go in there. And this is a huge solar array. Didn't you build that in?
No, I
Or-
didn't.
oh, you did?
Marshall.
Well,
Marshall
it's
did
just a
that.
huge solar array, and when you go upstairs in that house, there's a room out there that looks like a ship engine room. My gosh, you're standing this long, there's dials, but they just love it, and they live in Seattle. They live on a houseboat in Seattle. They're nice people.
Hey, can I make one comment on the July 4th picture? That was the bicentennial, 4th of July.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, it was,
And
yeah.
we were fairly new property owners, and we were expecting a big party, and the ferry broke down. Nobody came. Nobody came.
Was there a parade? There was a parade.
I don't remember that. Our kids were just little, and their friends were coming, and people my folks' age were coming. It was going to be this crazy
Aw.
thing. Nobody came, but Shirley and I and our 2 kids.
Oh, man. Maybe that's why there's such a small gathering here. Look at all the extra chairs that are waiting. So that's on the beach of Rita Brown's house, which was, and then the next house was, the next property was bought by Maud McCracken, and I think that's Phil McCracken's mother.
Yeah.
A lot of times on the deeds, it have the name of the wife instead of the husband, which sounds kind of forward-thinking. Anyway, so Maud McCracken bought this house, and Phil and Ann moved in and raised their 3 sons there, and this was Phil's studio down on the beach.
So I'm looking at
We spent,
Sally's picture here and where Dylan's place is.
That's
McCracken.
Right. Oh, because it was senior McCracken, and then it
Will-
was deeded
yeah,
to
Will had-
junior McCracken.
Yeah, but we skipped over Will McCracken's house.
Yeah.
That's right next to
Yeah.
McCormick's. Down in the flats.
Oh, yeah,
Between-
Megorians,
Yeah.
Haytons.
He's right across
So,
from
yeah,
the
McCracken's, when they,
oh, maybe
senior
we skipped
McCracken
one.
sold that or gave that to Phil McCracken's family,
Mm.
they bought one of those lots and
Okay.
built that flat roof
Yeah,
house
yeah.
where the
That
Megorians
one was
are.
good.
And
On
then
the other side
he,
of the
Pretty much still
But
there.
all
God
the lots are
died,
covered, so it
and
must
his
have been
next
on the
wife
same
was
lot as.
Nell.
It was
And
part of
Nell's
that A lot.
Daughter
Okay.
was
Yeah.
Lavina
So-
Hayton.
so-
Oh, sure.
Remember
It was
the
right next to
Grover car through
Leatherwoods.
the
Oh.
visitor center?
Oh, Leatherwoods.
By accident.
It's right next to
So
Shannon.
is she still
Yeah.
alive?
No,
Yeah,
but
we have it
her
too,
daughter
but somehow it's
Susan
not.
Hayton
Oh.
McGorian.
Okay.
She
Can
and
I
her
ask you to go
husband
back
owned
for a
it.
minute?
Oh, yeah.
You said back in the early 20s when it was subdivided, the road was along the water,
Mhm.
and it was all forest?
So it
Up
would
above it?
be, yeah,
And when was the road then first moved, so these places were then built? In the
Well,
20s
these
or
places were
30s?
built
The road you get
in
at McCracken's
the
house.
early 20s.
Yeah,
So the road was still out in
the
front of
road
them
would
there?
have gone
Yeah.
right through that.
It was all
No, 'cause
flat
on
down
the-
below.
That's
On the
cute.
plat,
There's a road in the plat. It shows in the plat through
Yeah,
the,
the road's in the
Along the
front.
beach.
no, it doesn't show the one along the beach, it's through the lots.
When he platted it,
Yeah.
they put a road in it.
That's the road, I think.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
that's
just
the
think
road.
that-
It used to go there, but then they
Yeah,
had.
I was just wondering when this was put in so they could get access here, so people
Probably that-
started
I
building
think
that.
they,
21,
they
well,
were
this was.
starting to
No,
work
I
on
think
it.
they started working on the road in the thirties. I think it, kind of evolved. They have the road along the front of the houses, and then they were working on the road in the back.
People were building along here in the twenties and the
yeah.
thirties.
Not on this side of.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
On
oh,
this
yeah,
side,
on, yeah. mhm.
And then the road was built behind
What
it.
about during the war?
It shows
And
the
it was
road
probably-
in here in 21, because that's. when the
Probably-
plat-
Well, that's
They
just to
start making
dedicate
roads
it.
up
I don't
there?
Yeah.
think
That isn't when it started,
Yeah,
you're
right.
talking about
That's
23 or
just where-
24, they started
When
building.
he platted it, he had the picture.
But it didn't exist at that
Yeah.
Same time. I
Yeah,
suppose,
But
right?
after a storm like that.
Okay,
one thing-
okay, so then lot number 5 was bought by Russ Brown, and I think that must have been Rita Brown's husband at one time. And I could never find out when Balzans bought it from Russ Brown, so I don't know what year. This was the
I
Balzan
want it.
house.
I'll
There's a
find out.
picture of it here. The original house, little tiny house.
I just couldn't figure out whose house that was
I
when I
know,
looked at the
I know.
picture.
Anyway, and that was one of the hiccups of my camera, that I didn't get a very good picture of this house.
So is that Melita's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Melena's
Okay.
house. And then this little house is down in front of Wiesner's house. But you can see that the latest storm, how it just ripped up the grass. It goes over the wall and ripped up the grass.
Well, and all of those rocks that are on top of that
Mm.
3-foot wall are from the
Just-
waves
wow.
pushing them
Yeah,
up
they're
there.
just
And they're
shoveled
big,
up over there.
there's a huge pile of rock. It's too bad you didn't show all the erosion at this end of it.
Well, we do have
Oh,
that picture.
okay.
But you can see how the road, how the wall has been repaired over the years. And if you walk along West Beach, or North Beach, you can see places where properties had a wall, and it's just in shambles now, because you can't hold back the sea. It comes in and it undermines the walls.
Well, and everybody didn't build a wall, and so
Right.
when there's a gap, it just really undermines
Yeah.
in between the
Yeah.
walls.
Well, if you
Here's,
notice down,
This is Melita's.
when I was kayaking down at the
Oh,
resort,
boy.
there's, on that Daggett Beach, there are 2 or 3 houses along there.
Mhm.
They had a wall, but
This,
it
This
actually
is-
was
yeah.
washed
Yeah.
under the wall and
But
the
now
wall's
it's
just
just
falling
all-
down.
Yeah.
I think
So,
And people have
Church
tried
was gutted out.
concrete
Maybe he
walls,
was gonna fix
rock
it or
walls,
something. I can't
and like
remember.
what Muggsy, what
About
they
that.
did in front of Muggsy's house, these
The wood.
huge tree trunks this big around, set way down and then stuck together with boards and
Planks,
bolts
big
and
planks.
everything. The sea swept those away.
yeah,
And so
that's
you
taken
can't
a
hold
good
it
20
back.
years for it to
Yeah, they left it a long
Go
time.
away.
That was a good way to do it.
So then this is the Mounts house, the next one, on lot number 6. And this is my Aunt Sylvia and a friend, and I just happen to have this picture of Aunt Sylvia. But you can see, they built this wall, when do you think that would have been, like in the 60s or 50s they built that wall?
No idea, but it gives you an idea how much space there is for a road down there.
So lot number 6 was bought by Dr. Brooks, Samuel Brooks, and I think his son Tommy Brooks, isn't he still? Yeah.
looks like that road is right behind them, huh? Could that be the road?
And this
right
one, no,
behind
this is much
No,
later.
but that space, all of the houses along there have
them?
these.
Used to have that space,
Yeah.
and now they
This is
don't.
where- This is where the road must have gone.
We had
So
a
then,
horseshoe
the
pit in front of our
Mounts-
house.
Yeah,
Tore down the little house and some of the walls and built this great.
What did you
On
just say
50
about the Brooks? What did you just say about the Brooks?
Lot number 6 was originally bought by Dr. Brooks in April of 1922.
I know his daughter Alice.
Oh. And then the
And that-
Mounts bought it then the Mounts bought it in April of 1937, so they had it for a
And
while.
that was
Yeah,
because
50
Mr. Mount worked at Roosevelt High School.
with the Hansons.
Yeah, the Hansons, but why did
They had friends who already had a lot of wings, so they played cards together, and they said, well, keep your eye out in case one goes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe that's.
Neat.
Way before my.
And then this house has just changed hands, a couple years ago, it's now
Yeah,
owned by.
and they live in British Columbia, a couple and their kids and grandkids. They're all teachers and That's the first house of those Alverson ones that has changed families.
Oh,
I think that's true.
Right. Okay. The next
Maybe
one is,
Dillon's, yeah, the McCracken Dillon.
the next one is lot number 7, and this
In
was
my memory,
originally
that-
bought by Lewis's granddad, Dr. Austin Shaw. And I don't think he owned it for very long, because he bought it in August 1923, and then William Beesner had it in August of 23. And I'm thinking, you know, those recordings that were done by hand, they might have been done later, you know, the recording might have been done later. But we do have a couple deeds that show,
And I didn't get those on this.
Okay.
Did it?
So that's
Anyway,
not
so-
the picture of where it is now.
No, it's,
Is this
no,
where
it's
they-
just being moved.
Oh, right.
so anyway, so Beesner's house, that's where Bill and Paul Mitchell, that was their grandparents.
Is this
And
the
so they
new
were
one?
our playmates on the beach here. What did you, oh yeah, so anyway,
Oh, no, you want me to
they,
go back?
so Tony Martisich moved the Beesner house up to Holiday Hideaway, and he built this beautiful house.
What street is it on? Up
Shaw.
Shaw. It's that
But
little.
here you can see Mount's
street.
wall, and look how much erosion has happened because of the wall. It just, the water washes in and it washes everything down. So Martisich's beach is, you know, this little house used to be way, way back where the road was.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna get any lower.
Yeah.
Look at
put
this,
some
the
punches on
Martisiches
the
are
little
beach
house.
stewards. So they're doing the right thing, they're leaving their beach now. Okay, and now lot number 8 and 9. This was bought, this is the first one, lot number 9 is the first one that was bought of the Alverson's Camping Tracts by R. Lee Bradley. And then lot number 8, right next to it, was bought by someone named McCallum. And then eventually Karen Ryberg's dad bought it in 19, what did we say that?
Well, Cartwright built that big red house.
In
Ryberg's
June.
house?
Oh, yeah, that's right, Fred
Ryberg's house?
Cartwright bought the house,
Yeah.
built the house, and then the Rybergs bought it in August of 1951.
And in that old red house, they used windows from the building.
oh,
Oh,
The
building
shipyard,
on-
the
yeah,
offices in
yeah.
the shipyard.
Oh, wow.
And now those windows are in my little cabin.
wow. Oh, that's great.
So the house that was here for so many years was red like this. And this is a view from the beach, you can see the trailer.
Big old school bell outside.
And that deck right there on the
This
beach
dock, yeah.
was one of
washed up
the
this year.
docks that Billy Everett built. It
I was
was
gonna say,
the
it looked like
best
one of our docks.
one, and it lasted for a long time, but then a storm
Well, they were
pushed
gonna
it
take
way
it
up
apart,
past
which,
Orsini's.
you know, they didn't do.
And it stayed up there for a long, long time until the November storm, the Thanksgiving storm, and it made it all the way down to Martisich's. So that's right next door to this house, and
Oh.
Janie said she and Nick maybe were saying, oh, keep going, keep going. And then the next week, there was a storm from the other side, and it pushed it back to Ryberg. I wrote Karen a letter and said, party pit, perfect, needs to be leveled a little bit. I think it's perfect for right there. Her yard gets the most sun in the afternoon, the last sun in the afternoon.
So then the next two lots, lots 10 and 11, you went too far.
Yep.
These lots were both owned by, at one time, Dorothy Barney. I don't know if any of you remember Dorothy Barney, but her dad was a lawyer in town also, Harry Barney. And when he died, his wife Mildred, gave this house to Dorothy. And Dorothy married Speed Deutsch. And when they divorced, Speed got this house and Dorothy got this house. And so in the meantime, Speed's son Tom Deutsch built that house. No, Speed and Hope built that house. Yeah, they did. Speed and Hope built that house. And this is the most recently built one. Chris Hunt built that one.
The daughter of the boy in the boat, Shorty Hunt.
Yeah. And so we put this picture, and this is my aunt with a rifle and her friend. But it
With a
shows,
rifle?
Yes.
and so this was probably in
Asking you
about
what the hole above or below the water line.
This is probably in about 1940, and you can see that the two Deutsch houses, the Barney house and the Deutsch house, are the old ones. And then the next lot, number 12, is the one with the staff spot. And so you can see that for a while they slept in a tent on the beach, and their house was kind of put together with, found boards, and this is from the shipyard probably.
When we tore it down in '73, there was a cedar stump holding up one corner and a rock holding up another.
That was
And
like
this-
our house.
Same as that big red house had,
Oh.
the
This-
front floor
Our
kind
house is,
of went
no, this is
over.
typical construction, this was.
I got that.
What, is that ours? Is that our?
Yeah, that
We started coming, when I was a little kid, my mom and dad's friends had the spot. It's still there. It's right next to Spars.
Oh, yeah.
And they got an outhouse, didn't have an outhouse to begin with, but one was floating down the channel. And they rode out, put a rope on it, and pulled it back, stuck it in the back.
How often does that happen?
Not anymore.
It was over by your garage.
We had one, was it a two-seater?
Yeah, that was the first
the one
outhouse.
seat.
Hopefully nobody was in it.
No.
Did they get the catalog?
I don't know.
And my neighbor Ann Pastorelli's here, and she's been over on South Shore for a long time, and they have an outhouse that was built by the
CCC.
CCCs.
The CCC.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
We have the
cool.
outhouse with
The concrete
on our property.
Yeah.
Well, Franz and I got it from Tony, but it's up on the.
So anyway, the Stamps had just a screaming good time all summer long. They had, my dad and my Aunt Silver were born in 1907 and 1910. And then they had a baby that died of meningitis when he was 4. And then their next two children were born in 1919 and 1922. So they called them the two batches. So my dad and Aunt Sylvia were kind of gone when Uncle Dick here turned 12, and he had his whole class from school at a party in 1933.
And you said that was Wade Gilkey?
Yeah, this is Wade Gilkey, and Bob Leatherwood is in here, and these are the Cash kids, and Lewis's mom is in this picture.
Where that tint is in the upper right-hand picture, that's where the road was. At the bottom of the stairs, and then the next house over is Susie's granddad, and it goes up.
Just goes up and.
And you can see where at first they had kind of rickety wood steps, but then they had some concrete steps, but then they're still there.
And they're
Yeah, so ours are
really
still
in
there.
good shape compared to the ones on both sides of us.
Oh,
They're kind of
interesting.
Ours are just.
So there's that little trail that goes down, and a little ramp, that was the old road.
So this is the Stamp family. Most pictures are from the Stamps because that's what I have in mind. So this is our granddad Charles Stamp, and he and his brother had a shoe store in Anacortes. They came to Anacortes in 1913 when our dad was 3, and Aunt Sylvia was whatever. And I think our grandmother was pregnant with little Tom, the one that died. And then
And
Aunt
that
Mary, who was a school teacher in Anacortes for a long time.
That was when Anacortes was being considered as the terminus of the railroads. So people from Illinois who knew people out here came out and started a store.
Were most of these people living there, or these
No,
vacation?
this was
homes?
their summer house. Most of these people, these were summer houses. I don't know if anybody lived there in the early days. Because these weren't heated places. These
What
were
about, the road grader guy?
Lewis.
Yeah. He's
Those windows
are up
are in my
farther.
house.
up further, okay. Those are the only ones I knew that,
And Kriegers was probably.
yeah, Krieger's lived there.
Well, Orsini's lived there, because that's
Yeah.
where Steve grew up.
That's
He was
right.
5 when they
But
moved.
earlier,
But
when
that was,
there you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
that's-
yeah,
that's
that
up
Yeah,
where-
that would've been
that's high.
40s.
It's not in these tracks.
I have to look and see when my grandparents started living, well, they never really lived full time anywhere because he was the president, or the phone company.
Yeah, Susie's granddad was the telephone guy in town. There's a picture of him in his 3-piece suit standing there.
There,
They always
Jane
wore
did a
suits.
cool
Yeah,
thing, or a memory of when the telephones came, or was it electricity?
I think it was
I
electricity.
think that was electricity.
Did you
Yeah.
write it down?
Did I what?
Did you write it down? Did you write down what she said originally?
You wouldn't have to.
Oh, yeah,
Interview
we
Jane.
we have a couple of interviews of her talking about the
It was,
electricity.
or the telephone, I can't remember.
Telephone came
It was-
early, way before
Yeah.
Jane was here.
Oh.
Telephone was here in the 20s.
Wow.
With electricity,
Consider we
yeah.
could not stand up to have a phone, right?
I remember having
And then this is the
Oh,
Ever
yeah.
place. This is Susie's grandma's place, and it was right next to our grandma's place, and they were great over the fence visitors. So, this is a gathering of steps on the beach, and you can look up and see the house back in probably 1940, and then as the years went on, it got fixed up, you know, painted, and it was a real cute place. We used to, after Susie's grandma died, we went in there and listened to records, didn't we?
We got the house,
The
it was
Doors.
our summer
Yeah,
home,
the teenagers, yeah.
the girls' cabin.
So it
Even
was
though the
torn, do you
floor-
remember what year it was torn down? Was it
No, the
80?
garbage man took it up to Linden and rebuilt it for his daughter.
Oh. So the
Rebuilt
road-
it, that old house?
Yeah, they tore it down piece by piece and took it, and he real.
See, by
he rebuilt it.
1940, the railroad was built, so this was kind of overgrown, it looks like.
But
You
the one
can
on the
see-
top, Sue, shows the two log cabins that, no, on the,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
the
on the
sleeping
beach.
cabins on the beach.
and one of those still exists, so if you do another log cabin
Oh,
calendar.
yeah.
You went the wrong way.
I did. Oh, too far. Again.
Okay, go back one, because I think, oh, huh, okay, I think another one's missing, because across the street from, the Everett properties, 13 and 14, are 15 and 16, and this is the house that Susie's parents built. And right next door to them was the house that our parents, Sally and my mom and dad built, and it was on lot 17.
And that wall is a Ray Lohman wall.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
And Dean
most of
Townsend
I might have
Yeah,
that.
was
on my
starting
other-
to do that at the time.
And he
But the whole
built
bottom of the house, the back of the house, the
Mm.
garage, the everything.
So it's,
Is there snow blowing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it snowed out.
Do you need a ride?
So that's,
Anybody else need to?
oh, I forgot, Louis.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, it's always,
You're welcome, anytime.
Yeah,
I'll come
I
back.
learned a lot of stuff tonight. Like I said, we were kids, we didn't know.
yeah.
Didn't know.
Yeah.
Just wander around and have fun, so.
So I found a bunch of pictures of Louis when he was a little kid and his grandparents, and he's gonna take them and give them to Stan. And I'm glad they're.
Well, one of the birthday party on the beach, I get that sometime.
Okay. Well, I think I have it.
Now, on this one, we didn't put this in.
Oh,
Maybe this was the one,
Oh, that's my grandparents' water tower.
yeah.
Water tower behind, now you had to go through the woods to get to that.
Oh, yeah, well, when our well, you had to,
Yeah,
Hike up the
your
trail.
well, too.
Look at that stuff.
So there was
Bushes.
a, water tank on top,
oh, yeah,
and
okay.
that's where my dad,
So how did you get the water up to the tank? Did you hand pump it?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
there was a well.
There was a
an
dug well?
electrical,
Or there must
yes,
have been an electrical pump
yes,
in?
yeah, there
Huh.
must have been.
A dug well,
Here it is.
like that?
Yes, I think so. Now it's a drilled well, they
Yeah.
eventually drilled it. We kept all the,
Oh,
I could write a
Oh,
a
that's-
story about the well.
that's great.
But I didn't realize that we had that picture, that's very cool. Phil McCracken would be a good person to interview, because he has a story about that community well that all,
He graduated.
14 houses, I think,
Yeah.
and it was the kinds of things that were floating around.
Yeah.
on top of the- Okay, come on.
Okay,
Louis.
thank you very much.
Have to swim.
night.
Good
Bye.
Good night.
Was trying to
So were
see
there
if I-
some
Let's go to the ferry.
Well, yeah, we scanned some and, yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Yeah, by the
Yes.
time
we
Way
were,
back,
she
we
said,
used to
I
get a wall
left,
out of a
I was
cistern
brain
right
dead
down
and
below your
Carol was
house.
still doing this.
I was still
Until
doing
one
this
day,
all
my
day
Aunt Helen,
today
who
too.
very
this
strong
one.
willed person, opened the faucet and dead mouse
Oh,
came
yeah,
out.
this is kind of a cool picture. This is when Marty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the
No,
water.
I know it hasn't looked really good in there.
Yeah,
This is one of Marty Houghton's, advertising cards that she sent out, and so that's all the North Beach. And once I was up on the mountain, and it was really low tide, and I took a picture of the North Beach tigers.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, some of these didn't make it in, that we couldn't, in fact, I scanned this one today because we forgot about it, I brought it back. It was left on my desk. We were scrambling.
Well, the whole thing's a work in progress, because I still don't know where Alverson got on that property. That he could
So
sell.
one thing I might help on, we're down further, you know, we're
On
in the edition.
on the first
Alverson.
edition, okay.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
And I was over at the title
Here's the
company
one,
some time
another-
ago, and they had a file for each lot with a copy of every deed in it. If you didn't
It was at the
see that,
title
I'm
company?
surprised, yeah.
See, I felt like I was bothering them. All these people bring me a desk, and I walked in and I said, I called ahead, and she said, oh yeah, I'll show you the book, and so I went into the book, and.
There was a fellow there that, he was one of the head guys that gave me access to these folders, just a folder, and copies of each deed, so it's a lot easier than the way you went
Here's the
about it.
missing one.
Oh, yeah, and so then, across the street from lot 12, where my grandparents had a place, my dad bought lot 17 from Mr. Cartwright in 1942, and so when he married my mom, one of the first things they did was drill a well, and they went to Seattle and bought the cedar tank, because the water was sucked up into that and stored there. And they put pipes under the ground so that the staff house could have running water. They didn't have running water. To get water, my uncle said he had to walk up to Nazier's and get water from them and carry it in buckets. So what was interesting about this is that every summer they would pour a gallon of bleach in there. Wouldn't get sick from-
Well, look, 'cause every time I came up after we bought Rita's cabin, that's
That's
my
a
dad
lot
would
of
do that.
bleach.
Pour
Yeah, that's
bleach
a
down the well
lot
and
of bleach.
let it sit and run it
A
for
cup full
whatever,
would
and
be
take
more
a
than
sample
enough.
over to the county, going, oh, you're good to go.
What's the disease you get and you die from if you,
Typhoid fever?
yeah.
Oh, I don't
My
want to get that.
mom's aunt died because her husband didn't clean out the cistern.
Oh.
She got typhoid fever and died because he was a drunk and he forgot. She died because of it.
On the subject of water, in this one, the description of property, it says that on that farm, there was a spring with enough water for 100 cattle. So it'd be really interesting to see where that spring was. And it describes that land as being,
Up and back.
Well, you know how the water's just running off of Guaymas now with all the rain and stuff. And down, south here, on the way down to where your property is, you know, down the beach, there are places when you walk on the beach, there's just water gushing out of them. Because that whole lowland used to be a swamp. And it's been drained, and you can see that the water behind where the gallery used to be is
That
really
used to
wet.
be the lake.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, we used to,
We
well,
skied on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now they probably wouldn't let you do it, was that?
Well, there's a big culvert that drains that wetlands back there.
Runs
That
up
would
by,
be a no-no
by
anymore.
Ashbacks.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to go down there, we'd go hunting with our BB guns.
Oh, yeah. What would you hunt?
Robins.
Oh,
Which is never,
don't
which
listen
we
to that,
never
Ann.
even.
Ann's a birder.
Well, we were too, and it's like,
Come
you know,
here.
it's kind of like, we were gonna do ducks, but, you know, we never found, then we thought, oh, there'll be rabbits down here. I was going, yeah, so we looked for rabbits, of course, there's no rabbits until Beth and I populated this swamp with rabbits.
So I'd like to get the name of the person you talked to, because it'd be nice to have a folder and just get everything.
Yeah, he had an office, so he was one of the upper level guys. I could give you, I'll check my file.
I wonder if Brados would have.
Kirk's has all the pictures, and he's
Serious.
he doesn't, he's Kirk's being Kirk, yeah.
I don't know, but I think Carol's
Get
got
them
that,
out,
and we
we've
can
been
make some
asking.
copies. Do you need it now, or?
Yeah.
No, as long as that's here, I was gonna give it to her, but.
Well, it's getting late in the day, and we're gonna be dying off, and nobody's
She
gonna know
brought
what
it
happened.
yeah.
Which is what Sal
So-
and my mom wanted to get.
So it'd be like me with my parents going, oh, I should have asked them that, or if you, all of a sudden you get this question, you're going, I can't call
Yeah.
anybody,
Yeah.
I don't remember,
Yeah.
she told us all that, and
Yeah.
my dad told us, and we're going, yeah, whatever.
I know.
That's
We'll
why we
remember.
gotta start doing the interviews, the McCrackens and all the older ones first, although we, you know.
Well, I can tell you about their kids. I was the evil babysitter.
Gosh.
Well, Mark Jan McCormick, who.
I'm
was in the
glad I
little-
wasn't
little
younger
brick
than
building, She just turned 91,
Wow.
but she's done her reports.
Well, I
Do
do
you have
remember.
Laverne Dean on your list?
Yes, he is
on
on the
my
list, yeah.
I'm gonna rewrite it though, because he's another one that's up there.
Yeah, he's pretty sharp.
Yeah, I know.
But they didn't come over until really late.
Well, they're talking
Have,
about.
have your parents been Ben, Carol?
Every morning.
No, they haven't been done. We should, if Dad would do it.
Uh-huh.
He's so shy, but he
Yeah.
talks every morning to us about way backs
Mhm.
when. But, we might be able to get him, if he knows there's a camera on him, I don't know.
Yeah, well, he might not realize the camera's on.
I don't know, he's pretty sharp.
Did
It's on camera.
you ever figure out who it was?
But we got it
I-
on the history site so people can.
I
look
put
at
it on the history site, so it said, do you know who this
Because
is?
the other person I was thinking about Anna Wooten, and if she maybe, because they were thinking it was the Wooten boy that was
she's-
killed.
She was approached. She wants nothing to do with old times.
Well, Lewis, I told Lewis about that picture and he's gonna look at it.
But her brother's in the,
Yeah, but he's
he's
still
kind
sharp
of
or
loose
no?
in it. He's not as, no, Dad, someone told me he's not as sharp anymore. Something's happened. Yeah, and
We haven't
Anna,
interviewed somebody who interviewed Banjo.
but the
Easily.
Wooten children, maybe, because, I don't know, but